More of Rebecca Romijn as number 1 is my number 1 wish for Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 3. Also known as Lieutenant Commander Una Chin Riley, number 1 is the unflappable and uber-competent first officer of the USS Enterprise led by Captain Christopher Pike, Anson Mount. Along with Mount and Ethan Peck as Lieutenant Spock, Romain's iconic embodiment of number 1 is why fans clamored for Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, the trio's spin-off from their appearances in Star Trek: Discovery Season 2. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds has already developed number 1's character more fully than the character ever had a chance to when Majel Barrett Roddenberry pioneered her in Star Trek's original pilot, The Cage. Strange New Worlds not only revealed number 1's full name but that she is from a race that practices genetic engineering called Illyrians. Una's heritage has been the source of her strength and primary story in Strange New Worlds thus far, as number 1 fought for her rights as a member of a race banned by the United Federation of Planets. But now, we need more number 1 stories in Strange New Worlds to get to know Una even more. There hasn't been enough of number 1 in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. Una needs more spotlight. Considering number 1 is part of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds' Big Three, along with Captain Pike and Lieutenant Spock, it feels like there has been comparatively less emphasis on Lieutenant Commander Una Chin Riley. Granted, Star Trek: Strange New Worlds cast is large, varied, and extremely talented, and the series has done a spectacular job spotlighting them, from new creations like Lieutenant Lon Noonien Singh, Christina Chung, to Star Trek legacy characters like Ensign Nyota Uhura, Celia Rose Gooding, and Nurse Christine Chapel, Jess Bush. But it does seem like Una occasionally fades into the background. Number 1 is meant to be a formidable presence on the Starship Enterprise. Una is the best first officer in Starfleet and the rock Captain Pike relies upon. Curiously, however, Una was replaced as first officer a couple of times in Strange New Worlds Season 1, and number 1 only occasionally receives entire episodes centering on her. However, Rebecca Romijn is smashing as Una, and she makes every moment number 1 is on screen count. Una simply needs more emphasis in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 3 to reveal more of her wit, her personality, and what makes her tick. Number 1 was the star of one of Strange New Worlds' best episodes. Directed by Valerie Weiss, Ad Astra per Aspera is a Star Trek classic. When number 1 received the spotlight in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 2, Ad Astra per Aspera, the result was one of the best Star Trek courtroom episodes ever. It can even be argued that Ad Astra per Aspera is Strange New Worlds Season 2's finest episode, no small feat considering the big swings of Season 2 like Star Trek's first ever musical and the crossover with Star Trek: Lower Decks. Dramatically, Ad Astra per Aspera is flawless, as is Rebecca Romijn as Una, who refuses to compromise her right to be accepted by Starfleet for who she is, and wins. With her plight in Ad Astra per Aspera over, number 1 showed her lighter side as Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 2 continued. Whether helping a suddenly human Spock act more Vulcan, butting heads with Chief Engineer Commander Pelia, Carol Kane, consoling her closest friend, Lon, in matters of the heart, or unleashing her singing voice and love of Gilbert and Sullivan, Una is a bona fide scene stealer. Yet, number 1 is one of Strange New Worlds' headliners, so Una shouldn't be stealing scenes, they should revolve around her far more. Strange New Worlds should start teasing number 1's Star Trek future. What will happen to Una when Kirk eventually takes over? Number 1, Captain Pike and Lon in Strange New Worlds. While I hope Star Trek: Strange New Worlds runs for as long as the executive producers and the cast want to keep making the show, realistically, Strange New Worlds faces a 5-season run like Star Trek: Discovery and Star Trek: Lower Decks. This is why Strange New Worlds Season 3 should start planting the seeds for what happens to number 1 in the future when Captain James T. Kirk, Paul Wesley, one day takes command of the USS Enterprise. It's a question that has lingered for almost 60 years. Does number 1 become captain of her own starship? Does Una stay in Starfleet, or does she find a new destiny? Strange New Worlds Season 3 is the time to start teasing the answers. In the Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 3 clip released at San Diego Comic-Con, it's heartening to see number 1 in command of the Enterprise when Captain Pike is turned into a Vulcan, along with Lon, Uhura, and Chapel. This is where Una belongs and excels, as the stalwart bastion of certainty when things run amok. Rebecca Romijn has teased that Una does show off more of her lightness and personality in Star Trek: Strange New World Season 3, and I can't wait. More. Number 1 is a gift that keeps on giving.